Tim, you got a pretty big one up your way, and I think people forget about this in North Carolina. It was a real quiet hurricane season last year for everybody, and even the Carolinas, but there was a storm this time last year which caused major issues up in your area.
We sure did. Tropical Storm Chantal, it snuck up on everybody. This was one of these things that formed so quickly offshore. Didn't look like all that much, but when it moved inland, what it did, it produced such a narrow corridor of horrible rainfall. And when we say narrow, we really mean just a couple counties got this. You can see this map here, great map from the Climate Office, and they're right up on this thing. You can see the path of Chantal. There was a local area on the west side. Basically, it started from Pinehurst. Once the storm got to Pinehurst, we kind of got that uh-oh moment, knowing that this was going to be a bad afternoon. They got about 6 to 8 inches of rain, and then it got worse. So up in Chatham County, Orange County, Alamance County, Chapel Hill, Burlington, Mebane, these areas, they got tons of rain. This is a radar estimate from us at one point during the day. 10, 12, 14 inches of rain were seen in parts of these areas, and it had rained like crazy the week ahead of time. So this was wet ground, all of this rain in a day, and we saw river levels that broke Hurricane Fran records. And, if you live in the corridor there along the Haw River, Fran was kind of legendary. This thing beat that for some gauges, and the damage is still there. We had some of our reporters on scene today kind of checking in on how people were. There was a lot of schools, businesses, cars, homes that were damaged, and today, now those rivers are almost record low compared to where they were last week. So let's listen in on what we found on the ground today.
Right now, I'm standing in a space right next to Buddy Collins Memorial Bridge where there was not a place to stand. This entire area was flooded with water. I just want you guys to take a look at this bridge here. Right now, you see vehicles crossing. A year ago, there was a crack in the center of this bridge. It was unusable, and the water was sloshing on the sides. It's a memory I'm very fond of now, looking back and being here. One business near the Haw River is preparing to start a new chapter in a different space. Haw River Canoe and Kayak Company says that its former building did not survive Chantal. Right now, it's building a deck above the flood zone near its dock. A spokesperson says the improvements come as a silver lining.
So this is going to really help us streamline getting our customers in and having a nice check-in system for them instead of doing everything down at the dock. And it'll also be a great place to store some of our equipment so that it's not in the flood zone anymore.
There are still different parts in Saxapahaw where you can see the damage still remaining from Chantal, even now a year later. The community actually tells me that
Tim, it's crazy to think.
Right there.
I was going to say, it's crazy to think how low that water is now. And you can actually see that damage, as she was pointing out. But, Tim, I'm curious. This was actually the last, real big rain before the drought kind of started, wasn't it, for you guys up there?
It sure was. And this totally missed the Charlotte area, right? You guys, I remember, had quite a dry summer just overall.
Yeah.
For us, we were getting hammered through early July and including the tropical system. I didn't make this graphic today. I just have it in my system from a year ago. But it's showing the differences in rain in the month of July across the area. So, east of Burlington, that's not a typo. Some areas got 20 inches of rain in July, which is just nuts. And if you look over by Lexington or over by Concord, 3 inches, 4. Sounds like a lot to us now. That's just an average month. So it really was wild to see the local changes. And speaking of Concord, looks like we got a storm to keep an eye on down there.
Yeah, you could see the outflow boundary coming up from Rowan County kind of clashing there, and just perfect setup. Yeah, the thing I remember about that storm, Tim, was we weren't worried about it all down here. And you're right. I remember that heavy rain over towards Pinehurst and going, oh, that's pretty bad. But it was so weird to see, we don't want to have population bias, but you're in the triad, right? So Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point, almost nothing. Durham, Raleigh, almost nothing. And so think about the narrow area between those two metros, absolutely clobbered with heavy rain. And in the bigger cities, there was almost no rain at all. It's just a wild setup.
It was scary stuff, and just to wrap a bow on this, it wasn't just the rain. There were water systems that were tainted and not drinkable, not usable for weeks. There were infrastructure questions. There were some real tense moments that really lasted a long time for towns that had to think about, are we going to be okay? And it was really a difficult time for a lot of people for a long while.
Yeah, and I think of all the storms last hurricane season, I think, because I have people say, oh, nothing hit the U.S., and I have to remember, hey, maybe not Charlotte, but Chantal was a big deal for North Carolina. I think
90
they
minutes
still,
that way.
yeah, it was crazy to think about. So it just goes to show you, even a small storm like that can cause localized heavy damage in a few areas. So we're out of time. We'll keep an eye on that storm in Concord. If you're tracking that tomorrow, I'm sure we'll be doing the exact same thing right back here.